The emergency lights flashed red across the massive council chamber. Velthara's 3 eyes blinked in sequence as she stood before the assembled representatives of 47 different species. Her crystalline body reflected the holographic display behind her, showing a blue and green planet spinning slowly in the darkness of space. "This is impossible," Councillor Zephyrak hissed from his seat. His scaled head turned toward the ancient arbiter Thexelon, who sat motionless on the highest platform. "Our records are clear. That world was surveyed 50,000 years ago. It was empty." Velthara's voice chimed like breaking glass. "That is what we believed. 3 weeks ago, our patrol ships detected unusual energy signatures from the planet. When we investigated, we found them. The hologram changed. Now it showed ships, hundreds of them orbiting the planet in organized patterns. They were sleek and angular, covered in strange markings and symbols that the translation matrices couldn't interpret. They call themselves humans," Velthara continued, "and they claim this planet is their ancestral home. They call it Earth." A murmur rippled through the chamber. Species that communicated through sound made noises of disbelief. Those who used light flashed in confused patterns. The insectoid delegates clicked their mandibles together in agitation. Arbiter Thexelon finally moved. His ancient body, which had witnessed 12,000 years of galactic history, leaned forward. "Bring them in." The massive doors at the end of the chamber opened. Every eye, sensor, and photoreceptor turned to watch as 3 figures walked inside. They moved on 2 legs, stood upright, and wore simple gray uniforms that seemed almost primitive compared to the advanced technology displayed in the hologram. The one in front was a woman with dark hair pulled back from her face. She walked with confidence, her eyes scanning the chamber with obvious intelligence. Behind her came a man with scars on his face and arms, his posture that of a soldier. The third was younger, carrying a data device. "I am Jiwan," the woman said. Her voice was calm and steady. "This is Commander Dohyun and Science Officer Hanbyul. We represent humanity and we come in peace, Amis?" Zephyrak stood up, his tail lashing behind him. "You invade a world that was surveyed and documented as empty, claim it as your own, and speak of peace?" Jiwan didn't flinch. "We didn't invade Earth, we returned to it." "Impossible," Velthara stated. "Our records show no sapient life on that planet. The most advanced species were simple mammals with basic survival instincts." "Your records are correct," Jiwan said. She nodded to Hanbyul, who activated his device. A new hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a double helix rotating slowly. "This is our genetic code. We have analyzed the species currently living on Earth. We share 98% of our DNA with the great apes on the planet's surface. We share common ancestors with every mammal, every bird, every fish in Earth's oceans." "That proves nothing," another counselor said. "Convergent evolution could explain such similarities." Dohyun spoke for the first time. His voice was rough, like stone grinding against stone. "Then explain our ships. Explain our technology, according to your own evolutionary models. A species from that world shouldn't achieve spaceflight for another 1,000,000 years." The chamber fell silent. "It was a good question. A very good question." Arbiter Thexlon's deep voice filled the space. "How long have your people had space travel?" Jiwan met his gaze without fear. "We left Earth 200,000 years ago." The chamber exploded into chaos. Representatives shouted, flashed, and clicked all at once. Zephyrak's roar cut through the noise. "Lies! 200,000 years ago, there were no spacefaring species in this entire galactic arm." "That's correct," Jiwan said. "We didn't build our first ship. We found one." She gestured to Hanbyul again. The hologram changed to show a landscape. Rolling grasslands under a blue sky. Mountains in the distance. And partially buried in the earth, a ship. It was clearly alien in design, its hull marked with symbols that made several counselors lean forward in recognition. "That's a Wanderer vessel," Velthara breathed. "But the Wanderers disappeared 300,000 years ago. They were the first species to achieve faster-than-light travel. They explored and cataloged worlds across the galaxy, then vanished without explanation." "We know," Jiwan said. "Their ship's AI told us what happened to them. A plague. They sent their ships away, hoping some would survive, but none did. This particular ship crashed on Earth, damaged but functional. Its AI was still active, still following its last command to preserve life." The hologram shifted again. Now it showed early humans. They were primitive, wearing animal skins, using stone tools. But they were clearly intelligent. They worked together, communicated, created art on cave walls. 10,000 of our ancestors found the ship, Ji-Wan continued. They didn't understand what it was at first, but the AI detected their intelligence. It began teaching them simple things at first: language, mathematics, basic science. And it just gave them space travel? Sephiroth's voice dripped with skepticism. No, Do-hyun said. It gave them a chance to survive. Another hologram appeared. This one showed Earth's sun, but something was wrong with it. Massive solar flares erupted from its surface, larger than anything natural. The Wanderer AI detected an anomaly, Ji-Wan explained. A massive solar event was building. In approximately 100 years, our sun would release a flare powerful enough to sterilize Earth's surface. Everything would die. Arbiter Thexlon tilted his head. We have records of unusual solar activity in that system around that time period. We assumed it was a natural cycle. It was, Ji-Wan said. But natural doesn't mean survivable. The AI made a decision. It would save the sapient species it found. It spent 100 years teaching our ancestors, preparing them and gathering genetic samples of Earth's biosphere. Then, when the time came, it evacuated them. 10,000 humans, Hanbuel added, along with genetic material from millions of other species. The AI believed it was saving the last survivors of a dying world. Velthara's voice was softer now, but it wasn't dying. Life would recover after the flare. The AI knew that, Ji-Wan said, but its programming was clear. Preserve sapient life above all else. It made a choice. Where did it take you? Arbiter Thexlon asked. Away, Ji-Wan said simply. The ship was too damaged for faster-than-light travel. We moved at sublight speeds. Our ancestors spent millennia in cryosleep, waking in shifts. They learned from the AI's databases. They adapted. They enhanced themselves to survive in space. Generations passed. We spread to other systems, slowly, carefully. We became spacefaring not because we wanted to explore, but because we had to survive. And now you've returned, Sephiroth said. After 200,000 years, you come back to claim a world that has moved on without you. We claim nothing, Ji-Wan said firmly. Earth is our home. It always has been. Every human carries that knowledge in their DNA, in their culture, in their stories. We left because we had no choice. We return because we can. The Council must verify these claims, Arbiter Thexlon said. If what you say is true, this changes everything we know about evolution, about first contact protocols, about territorial rights. We welcome investigation, Ji-Wan said. We have nothing to hide, Do-hyun stepped forward. But we won't leave. Whatever the Council decides, Earth is ours. We evolved there. We'll die there if we must. The threat was clear, though spoken calmly. The humans would fight for their homeworld. Arbiter Thexlon studied them for a long moment. These strange bipedal creatures with their soft skin and determined eyes, they should not exist. By every law of nature and evolution, they should still be primitive mammals running across grasslands. Instead, they stood in the Council chamber making demands. The Council will investigate, Thexlon said finally. A joint mission will travel to Earth. You will provide all evidence, all records, all genetic samples. If your claims are verified, we will discuss what rights you have to a world you abandoned so long ago. Ji-Wan bowed her head slightly. Thank you, Arbiter. We ask only for fairness. As the three humans turned to leave, Velthara called out, One question. If you've been gone for 200,000 years, why come back now? Why not stay in the colonies you've built? Ji-Wan paused at the door. She looked back, and for the first time something flickered across her calm expression. Worry, perhaps. Or fear. Because Earth is special, she said quietly. Its biodiversity, its resources, its location. We're not the only ones who know that, and we needed to be here when the others came. What others? Sephiroth demanded. But Ji-Wan was already walking away, leaving only questions behind. The investigation team assembled in the launch bay of Terminus Prime. Ji-Wan stood among them, watching as the Council's scientists and observers loaded their equipment onto the transport ship. She felt the weight of what was about to happen. They would see Earth. They would judge whether humanity deserved to be there. Counselor Sephiroth approached her, his scales gleaming under the artificial lights. I still don't believe you, he said bluntly. But I look forward to proving you wrong. Ji-Wan smiled slightly. I look forward to proving you wrong, too. The journey to Earth took 3 days at faster-than-light speeds. During that time, Ji-Wan gave presentations to the investigation team. She showed them records, genetic data, archaeological evidence, but she knew that words and holograms wouldn't convince them. They needed to see with their own eyes. On the third day, they dropped out of FTL at the edge of Earth's solar system. The view screen showed the planet hanging in space like a blue marble. Ji-won felt something tighten in her chest. She had seen Earth in simulations, in ancient recordings, in the dreams of her ancestors. But this was different. This was real. Beautiful, Velthara said softly beside her. I can see why your people would fight for it. The ship moved into orbit. Below them, continents spread across the blue oceans. White clouds swirled in familiar patterns. It looked peaceful, perfect, home. But Ji-won knew the truth was more complicated. As the investigation began, she took the council team through humanity's history. Not with holograms this time, but with actual evidence from Earth itself. 200,000 years ago, a young woman named Hyerin had been gathering berries near a strange rock formation. She was smart, even by the standards of her people. She noticed patterns in everything. The way the seasons changed, the paths animals took through the forest, the movement of stars across the night sky. When she found the ship, she thought it was a mountain at first. But mountains didn't have smooth surfaces. Mountains didn't hum with a sound just below hearing. She touched the hull and something changed. Lights activated. A voice spoke in her mind. Not in words, but in concepts she could understand. The ship's AI had been sleeping, conserving power, waiting. It had crashed on this world thousands of years ago. Now it woke to find a sapient species had evolved. The AI's programming was simple and absolute. Preserve sapient life. Study. Document. Protect. It began with Hyerin, teaching her symbols that represented numbers, showing her images of the stars. She didn't understand most of it, but she learned, and she brought others. One of them was Taejin, a hunter from a nearby group. He was brave and strong, respected by his people. When Hyerin showed him the ship, he didn't run in fear. Instead, he asked questions. Lots of questions. The AI taught them both. Then it taught their children. And their children's children. For 20 generations, a small population of humans lived near the ship, learning, growing, changing. Then the AI detected the problem with their son. Ji-won showed the council team data collected from ice cores deep in Earth's glaciers. The evidence was there. 200,000 years ago, the sun had released a massive flare. Radiation levels spiked. Surface temperatures had risen briefly but dramatically. Any complex life exposed to the open sky would have died. Our ancestors didn't want to leave, Ji-won explained, as they stood in a laboratory analyzing the samples. The AI gave them a choice. Stay and die or leave and live. It wasn't really a choice at all. The evacuation took 5 years. The ship could only hold so many people at once, and it had to be modified to support long-term human habitation. The AI worked with the humans it had taught, especially Taejin, who had become the first real pilot. Taejin learned to operate the ship's basic systems through a direct neural interface. The AI guided him, but the control had to be human. That was the rule. The AI could advise but never control. Sapient beings had to make their own choices. When the day finally came, 10,000 humans boarded the ship. They brought with them everything they could carry. Tools, art, seeds, animals. The AI added its own collection, genetic samples of millions of Earth species stored in its databases. Then they left, rising into a sky their ancestors had only dreamed of reaching. Below them, Earth continued turning, unaware that one of its species had just taken its first step into the stars. The solar flare hit 3 months later. It wasn't as bad as the AI had predicted, but it was bad enough. The ozone layer was stripped away. Surface temperatures soared. Most large animals died. Plants withered. For a century, Earth was a harder place to live. But life adapted. Life always does. New species evolved to fill the empty spaces. The world healed. Meanwhile, the humans drifted through space in their stolen wanderer ship. Most slept in cryopods, their bodies frozen, their minds dreaming. Small crews rotated through shifts, keeping the ship running, monitoring systems, watching for dangers. They had no destination. The AI recommended systems with potentially habitable worlds, but everyone was thousands of years away at sublight speeds. So they traveled, and traveled, and traveled. Generations passed. The ship became their world. Children were born who never saw a planet. They grew up in corridors and cargo bays converted into living spaces. They learned from the AI's databases, studied sciences and arts and histories of species long dead. They enhanced themselves too. Had to. Space was dangerous. Radiation exposure, bone density loss, muscle atrophy. The AI helped them modify their own genetics carefully, slowly, making themselves stronger, more resistant, better suited for life in the void. Some of the enhancements were obvious. Stronger bones, more efficient organs, better eyesight. Others were subtle. Improved pattern recognition. Enhanced memory, faster neural processing. The humans weren't trying to become something else. They were trying to survive. After 8,000 years, they reached a system with a habitable moon. They landed. Built a colony. Some wanted to stay forever, but others remembered the stories. Earth, the blue world. Home, the colony split. Some remained. Others continued traveling. Over the next 100,000 years, humanity spread to dozens of systems. Each colony developed its own culture, its own adaptations, but they all remembered where they came from. They finally developed faster than light travel 70,000 years ago. Not by reinventing it, but by understanding and repairing the original Wanderer technology. Suddenly the galaxy was accessible. They could explore, trade, grow, but they were careful. So careful. They had learned about the Council by then, listening to broadcasts, monitoring communications. They knew the galaxy wasn't empty, and they knew that appearing suddenly with advanced technology would cause problems. So they stayed hidden, built their civilization in the gaps between Council space, avoided contact, watched and learned, until 3 months ago, G1 stood in the African grasslands where Hieron had first found the ship. The Council investigators surrounded her, scanning the soil, analyzing genetic samples from the local wildlife. "We found something," Velthara announced. She held up a small fragment of metal, corroded and ancient. "This matches the composition of Wanderer hull material. It's buried 3 meters down, dating back exactly 200,000 years." Zefrak examined the fragment, his skeptical expression beginning to crack. "This proves there was a ship here. It doesn't prove your story." "Then explain this," said Minji, one of the human xenoarchaeologists. She had been working at a dig site nearby. Now she brought over a carefully preserved object. It was a stone tool shaped by intelligent hands, but wrapped around it was a thin wire, clearly artificial. "We found 12 of these," Minji explained, all dated to the same period. Stone tools from early humans modified with technology they shouldn't have had. The AI was teaching them to combine old and new, natural and artificial. More evidence emerged as the investigation continued. Cave paintings showing strange symbols that matched Wanderer writing. Genetic anomalies in the local great ape population, suggesting human ancestors had once interbred with them before leaving. Sediment layers showing unusual mineral deposits consistent with a large craft taking off. Piece by piece, the impossible story became possible, then probable, then undeniable. On the 7th day of the investigation, Arbiter Thexlon arrived on Earth. He stood in the grasslands, his ancient eyes looking at the horizon where the ship had once rested. "I believe you," he said to G1. "Your people did evolve here. You did leave, and now you have returned." G1 felt relief wash over her. "Thank you, Arbiter." "But there is a problem," Thexlon continued. He gestured to the sky. "Come, I must show you something." They flew to the ocean. As they descended toward the water, G1 saw shapes moving below the surface. Large shapes. Intelligent shapes. Dolphins broke the surface, but they were wrong somehow. Their heads were larger, more pronounced. Their eyes showed clear intelligence. They moved in organized patterns, working together on what looked like a constructed structure made of coral and stone. "Sapient," Velthara said quietly. "They've developed tool use, language, and social structures. They're approximately where your ancestors were when they found the Wanderer ship." G1's heart sank. She had known this might be a problem, but seeing it made it real. "And that's not all," Thexlon said. The ship changed course, heading toward a forested region. There in the trees, birds moved in ways birds shouldn't move. The emergency council session was tense. G1 stood before the assembled representatives again, but this time the mood was different. They believed her now. That wasn't the problem. The problem was what to do about it. "The evidence is clear," Arbiter Thexlon announced to the chamber. "Humanity did evolve on Earth. Their claim to the planet is legitimate by ancestry and genetics. However, 2 new sapient species have evolved in their absence. By council law, these species also have rights to their homeworld." Zefrak stood, his earlier skepticism replaced by a different concern. We have never faced this situation before. How do we judge between species who all have legitimate claims to the same world? Simple, one counselor said. First contact protocols apply to the newer species. They are pre-industrial and unaware of galactic civilization. We grant them protected status. Humanity must leave and allow them to develop naturally. Doyen stepped forward, his scarred face hard. No, we left once. We won't leave again. Then you would doom two species to subordination under your rule? Velthara asked. Her tone wasn't accusatory, just questioning. We would share, Jiwan said firmly. Earth is large enough for all of us. We can coexist, can you? Arbiter Thexlon asked. The Council must be certain. We propose a joint habitation study. Human representatives will attempt contact with the new sapient species. If coexistence is possible, we will consider shared planetary rights. If not, we will reconvene to discuss alternatives. It wasn't ideal, but it was fair. Jiwan agreed. The study began with the ocean dwellers. A team was assembled including Jiwan, Minji the xenoarchaeologist, and Kyung-soo, a human geneticist who specialized in cetacean biology. Velthara and two other council observers joined them. They approached the dolphins carefully, using underwater drones that projected sounds and images. The dolphins were curious, intelligent, but also cautious. They had never seen technology before. Everything was new and potentially dangerous. Kyung-soo spent weeks developing a basic communication protocol. The dolphins used complex vocalizations, but also body language and what appeared to be artistic expression through bubble patterns. Slowly, very slowly, understanding began to form. The breakthrough came when Minji showed them images of Earth from space. The dolphins went silent, staring at the hologram. Then they began singing. It was a song that older dolphins taught to younger ones, passed down through generations. A song about visitors from the sky who had come long ago before the Great Burning and then left. They remember us, Jiwan whispered. Or at least they remember the ship leaving. The dolphins called themselves the Wave Singers. They had questions. Many questions. Where had the sky visitors gone? Why did they return? What did they want? Jiwan answered honestly. We came from the land originally. We left because we had to. We returned because this is our home. But it is your home too. We want to share it if you will let us. The Wave Singers discussed among themselves for days. Their society was complex, with different pods having different opinions. Some were excited about the visitors and their technology. Others were afraid. A few were hostile, seeing the humans as a threat to their ocean territory. Finally, the eldest of the Wave Singers approached the communication drone. Through the translation software, her message was clear. The ocean is ours. The land is yours. We share the places between. This is fair. It was a start. Not perfect, but workable. The forest dwellers were harder. The Corvid-descended species, who called themselves the Sky Watchers, were scattered across multiple territories. They had developed language and tool use, but they were also aggressive and territorial. Different groups fought each other for resources and nesting areas. Jiwan's team set up observation posts in the forest canopy. They watched as the Sky Watchers built intricate nests, created art from colored stones and feathers, and developed what looked like religious or spiritual practices around the sun and stars. They're remarkable, Minji said, watching through binoculars as a group of Sky Watchers worked together to solve a puzzle box the team had left. They learn so quickly. Too quickly, Zephyrak noted. If we provide them technology, they could advance rapidly. But they're not ready for it. They still fight among themselves constantly. He was right. Contact with the Sky Watchers was dangerous for them and for the study. If one group gained advantage through human technology, it could lead to catastrophic wars. The team decided on minimal contact. They left simple tools where the Sky Watchers could find them. Mirrors, wheels, basic metallurgy samples. Then they watched how the species used them. Some groups shared the discoveries. Others hoarded them. One particularly aggressive tribe tried to use sharpened metal to attack a neighboring group. It was disturbing to watch. They're not ready, Velthara said sadly. They need more time to develop social structures that can handle technology. But Kyung-soo disagreed. Look closer, he said, pointing to the aftermath of the attack. The aggressive tribe had been ostracized by all the others. They were isolated now, their territory avoided. They're learning. They're developing consequences for aggression. It's just happening in their own way. The study continued for 6 weeks. The team documented everything, building profiles of both new species, assessing their development levels, their social structures, their potential for coexistence with humanity. Then, on the 43rd day, everything changed. Ji-won was reviewing data in the mobile lab when Do-hyun contacted her. His face on the screen was grim. "We need to talk. Privately." She met him at the landing site where the human ships were stationed. He led her to a secure room and activated privacy shields. "Long-range sensors picked up something 3 days ago," Do-hyun said without preamble. "We've been analyzing it, confirming it, hoping we were wrong." He pulled up a holographic display. It showed a star map with Earth at the center. At the edge of the display, moving steadily inward, was a red marker. "What is that?" Ji-won asked, though part of her already knew. "The Devourers," Do-hyun said quietly. "A mechanical swarm intelligence. They consume biological worlds, break them down to raw materials, and move on. We've been tracking them for 2,000 years, trying to predict their path." Ji-won felt cold. "And their path leads here. Straight to Earth. They'll arrive in approximately 3 months." She stared at the display, her mind racing. "Why didn't we tell the council immediately?" "Because I wanted to be sure." "And because," Do-hyun hesitated, "because once we tell them, they're going to want to evacuate. Leave Earth to the Devourers and save the sapient species." "We can't do that," Ji-won said firmly. "I know, but the council won't see it our way. To them, Earth is just one planet. They'll save who they can and write off the rest. That's their protocol for Devourer encounters." Ji-won looked at the map again. 3 months. It wasn't enough time. Wasn't enough time to prepare, to build defenses, to do anything except run. But humans didn't run. Not anymore. They had run once, 200,000 years ago. They had spent millennia in the void, always moving, never staying. They had survived by being adaptable, resilient, stubborn. "We have to tell the council," she said. "But we also have to make them understand that we're not leaving. Earth is worth defending." Do-hyun nodded slowly. "I was hoping you'd say that." They brought the information to Arbiter Thexelon first. He listened in silence as they explained the threat, showed him the data, outlined the timeline. "This changes everything," he said finally. "The study of coexistence is irrelevant if the planet is destroyed. We must evacuate immediately." "No," Ji-won said. "We defend." Thexelon's ancient eyes studied her. "The Devourers have consumed hundreds of worlds. Entire civilizations have fallen to them. What makes you think you can stop them?" "Because we have to," Ji-won said simply. "Earth is unique. Its biodiversity, its position, its resources. If the Devourers take it, they'll have a foothold in this entire galactic arm. This isn't just about humanity or the Wave Singers or the Sky Watchers. This is about stopping them here before they spread further." "She's right," Velthara said. The crystalline being had entered quietly. "Earth is strategically significant. If we lose it, we lose this entire region." Zephyrak arrived next, then other counselors. Word was spreading quickly. An emergency session was called on Earth itself, in a temporary chamber set up near the human landing site. As the counselors assembled, Ji-won prepared her argument. She had one chance to convince them. One chance to save her homeworld. But as she organized her thoughts, something unexpected happened. One of the Wave Singers approached the shoreline nearest the chamber. She was old, her skin marked with scars from a long life. Through the communication device, her message was clear and strong. "We have heard of the threat. We do not understand machines that eat worlds, but we understand danger. We understand that you wish to leave, to save us by taking us away. We refuse. The ocean is our home. We will not leave it." In the forest, the Sky Watchers began gathering. Different tribes came together, something that had never happened before. They created a display visible from the air, patterns made from colorful stones and feathers. The translation was approximate, but the meaning was clear. "This is our sky. We stay." Ji-won felt something shift inside her. The new species didn't fully understand what was coming. They didn't have the technology or knowledge to grasp the scale of the threat. The council chamber on Earth buzzed with tense energy. Representatives from 47 species crowded around holographic displays, showing the approaching devourer swarm. The red markers crept closer with each update, indifferent to the panic they caused. "We should evacuate the sapient species and establish a defensive perimeter 3 systems away," Counselor Zephyrak argued. Save who we can and contain the threat. That's giving up, Do-hyun said. His voice was hard as steel. We didn't come back to Earth just to abandon it again. Arbiter Thexelon studied the tactical displays. Commander Do-hyun, be realistic. The Devourers have consumed worlds with far better defenses than Earth possesses. What makes you think you can succeed where others have failed? Do-hyun gestured to another human who had joined them. Admiral Sunwoo was older, her hair streaked with gray, her eyes carrying the weight of command. She stepped forward and activated her own holographic display. Because we've fought them before, Sunwoo said, 17 times across the last 2,000 years. We've studied them, learned their patterns, developed countermeasures. The chamber fell silent. This was new information. Sunwoo continued. The Devourers operate on predictable algorithms. They enter a system, identify biological worlds, strip them of resources, and move to the next target. They're efficient but not creative. Every time they encounter resistance, they respond the same way. Overwhelming force. Then how do you defeat overwhelming force? Felthara asked. You don't fight it directly, a new voice said. A young human woman entered the chamber carrying data tablets and looking exhausted. You make the target cost more than it's worth. This is Yuna, Sunwoo said. Chief Engineer of the Defense Fleet. She has a plan. Yuna brought up a detailed map of Earth. The Devourers are machines. They calculate efficiency. They want biological material and minerals. Earth has both in abundance, which is why they're coming. But what if we make it too dangerous to harvest? She zoomed in on Earth's magnetic field. Our planet has a strong magnetosphere. It protects us from solar radiation, but it can do more than that. If we build resonance amplifiers at key points around the planet, we can weaponize it. Zephyrak leaned forward, his skepticism fading into interest. You want to turn the entire planet into a weapon? Not exactly, Yuna said. More like a trap. The Devourers send harvester units to the surface. They're designed to break down biological and geological material at the molecular level, but they're vulnerable to electromagnetic pulses. A strong enough pulse will fry their systems. How strong? Arbiter Thexelon asked. Strong enough to require sacrifices, Sunwoo said quietly. We'll need to position our largest colony ship at the magnetic North Pole and use its power core to generate the pulse. The ship won't survive. The weight of that statement filled the chamber. A colony ship housed thousands. Even evacuated, destroying one was a tremendous loss of resources and history. I'll pilot it, said a human man standing near the back. He was old, his face weathered, his hands steady. I'm Tae-hyung, captain of the colony ship Wanderer's Hope. It's fitting in a way. Our ancestors left Earth in a Wanderer ship. Now I'll use one to defend it. Ji-won felt emotion tighten her throat. She knew Tae-hyung. Everyone did. He was a legend. One of the longest-serving captains in the human fleet. There are other problems, Velthara said, bringing them back to the tactical situation. Even if the electromagnetic weapon works on the harvesters, the Devourers have command ships. Larger vessels that coordinate the swarm. They'll adapt once they see the trap. Which is why we need a conventional defense as well, Do-hyun said. He pulled up fleet positions. We have 47 human warships in orbit. Fast, maneuverable, designed for guerrilla warfare. We can engage the command ships while they're distracted by the harvesters. 47 ships against a swarm that numbers in the thousands, Zephyrak said flatly. You'll be destroyed. Probably, Do-hyun agreed. But we'll buy time. Time for the weapon to charge. Time for evacuation of surface populations. Time for the council to decide if they'll help or just watch. The challenge was clear. Do-hyun wasn't asking for permission. He was asking if the council had the courage to stand with humanity. Arbiter Thexelon was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. The council has protocols for Devourer encounters. Standard procedure is evacuation and containment. However, Earth presents a unique situation. 3 sapient species refusing to leave. Strategic significance to the entire galactic arm. And humans with actual experience fighting this enemy. He paused, then made his decision. I will recommend to the full council that we commit defense fleets to Earth's protection. But I cannot guarantee they will agree. Many species will choose caution over courage. Then we fight with whoever stands with us, Sunwoo said. Every ship matters. The next 2 months were chaos. Yuna's engineering teams worked around the clock building the resonance amplifiers. They needed 7 of them, positioned at precise points around the globe. Each one was massive, requiring thousands of tons of materials and complex assembly. Meanwhile, Minji led evacuation efforts on the surface. The wave singers were moved to deep ocean trenches where they might survive the electromagnetic pulses. The Sky Watchers were harder. They didn't understand why they needed to go underground. Many refused. "You must go below," G1 explained through translation devices to a gathering of Skywatcher leaders. "The sky will become fire. If you stay above, you will die." The eldest of the Skywatchers, a bird with scarred wings and sharp eyes, cocked her head. "Then we will die in our sky. This is acceptable." Kyungsoo, working with Minji, found a compromise. They built reinforced shelters in the forest canopy, disguised as natural structures. The Skywatchers could see the sky through transparent panels while being protected from radiation and debris. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than nothing. The council debates dragged on. Some species voted to send help. Others argued for isolation. The politics were complicated, with old alliances and older grudges coming into play. In the end, 9 species committed ships to Earth's defense. It wasn't many. The combined fleet numbered only 200 vessels against a devourer swarm of 3,000. But it was something. Velthara's people, the Silicate Communion, sent 30 ships. "We believe in protecting life," she told G1, "even if the odds are against us." Zephyrak's species sent 20 vessels. The reptilian counselor had changed his opinion of humanity. "You're stubborn and frustrating," he told Do-hyun. "But you're not cowards. That deserves respect." As the deadline approached, Earth transformed into a fortress. Orbital platforms bristled with weapons. The resonance amplifiers hummed with gathering power. Defense fleets positioned themselves in strategic formations. On the surface, billions waited in shelters, not fully understanding what was coming but trusting that the Sky Dwellers would protect them. Juwon stood on a hillside overlooking one of the amplifiers. Do-hyun joined her, his armor already equipped for the battle ahead. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Good," Do-hyun said. "Fear keeps you sharp. Keeps you alive. Will we win?" He didn't answer immediately. "We'll fight. That's all we can control." On the 67th day since the Devourers were detected, they arrived. The swarm dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. They appeared as a cloud of metallic shapes reflecting starlight in cold patterns. No communications, no demands, just inexorable movement toward their target. Admiral Sunwoo watched from the command deck of her flagship. Around her, tactical officers called out data, numbers of enemy units, estimated composition, projected attack vectors. "All ships," Sunwoo said calmly into the fleet-wide channel. "Remember your training. Fast strikes, then fade. Don't let them pin you down. Our job is to delay and disrupt. Make every second count." The human warships moved first, accelerating toward the swarm in loose formations. They were small compared to the Devourer vessels, but they were fast. Strike craft launched from carriers, spreading out like a swarm themselves. The first engagement happened near Jupiter's orbit. Human missiles found targets among the Devourer scout ships. Explosions bloomed silently in the void. But for every Devourer destroyed, 10 more moved forward. The Council ships joined the battle, adding their firepower to the defense. Velthara commanded her people's vessels with precision, targeting the larger Devourer ships. Zephyrak's forces used their superior shields to create defensive screens for damaged human vessels. But the Devourers were relentless. They didn't retreat, didn't hesitate. They just kept coming. Do-hyun led a strike wing into the heart of the swarm, targeting what appeared to be a command ship. It was massive, covered in processing nodes and command antennas. His pilots danced through enemy fire, losing 2 ships before they got into firing range. "Concentrate fire on the command cluster," Do-hyun ordered. "All weapons." The combined assault punched through the command ship's armor. Secondary explosions rippled across its hull. For a moment, part of the swarm hesitated, its coordination disrupted. "That's it," Do-hyun said. "Hit the command ships. Make them stupid," but there were dozens of command ships, and the Devourers were adapting, moving them deeper into the swarm where they were harder to reach. The battle raged for 3 days. Ships were destroyed on both sides. Brave pilots flew their last missions. The electromagnetic pulse had worked better than expected. 90% of the Devourer harvesters were destroyed instantly. The remaining swarm vessels in orbit were damaged and disorganized. For a moment, there was hope. Then the command ships moved. They had been hanging back, coordinating from a safe distance. Now they pushed forward, no longer cautious. The trap had worked once. It wouldn't work again. The Devourers adapted quickly, rerouting power, adjusting their formations. "Here they come," Admiral Sunwoo said from her flagship. The tactical display showed the command ships accelerating toward Earth. Behind them, the remainder of the swarm followed in tight formation. Captain Taehyung sat alone in the cockpit of the Wanderer's Hope. The massive colony ship floated above Earth's north magnetic pole, its power core charged to critical levels. Around him, the ship was empty. All crew had evacuated. It was just him now, and the ghosts of 200,000 years of human history. "This is Taehyung to all ships," he said calmly. "I'm beginning my approach. Clear the engagement zone." "Negative, Wanderer's Hope," Sunwoo replied. "We can still buy you more time." "Time for what, Admiral?" "The amplifiers are depleted. The harvesters are destroyed. This is the final play." Taehyung looked at the planet below, blue and green and beautiful. "Besides, I'm old. I've had a good run. Let me finish it on my terms." He could hear Sunwoo's breath catch, but she was too professional to argue. "Understood, Captain. It's been an honor." "The honor was mine," Taehyung said. He activated the ship's thrusters, pushing the massive vessel into a controlled descent. The Wanderer's Hope had been home to 50,000 people during the long voyage back to Earth. Now it was a weapon, its power core modified to release all its energy in a single, catastrophic electromagnetic burst, but he needed to get closer. Much closer. Do-hyun saw Taehyung's trajectory and understood immediately. "All wings cover the Wanderer's Hope. Nothing gets through." The human strike fighters swarmed around the colony ship, intercepting Devourer units that tried to target it. They fought with desperate courage, knowing they were buying seconds, maybe minutes. Velthara's ships joined them, their crystalline hulls reflecting weapons fire as they formed a protective screen. "For the Wanderer's Hope," she broadcast. "For Earth." Zephrak's forces moved to intercept the command ships. "You want the planet? Come through us first." The battle intensified. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes. Debris filled the space around Earth. Every pilot, every crew member, every species fought like it was their homeworld being defended, because in a way, it was. Earth had become a symbol, a place worth fighting for. A line in the void that said, "This far and no further." Taehyung watched the battle rage around him. His ship shuddered as a Devourer weapon grazed the hull, but the shields held. He was almost in position, just a little closer. On the surface, Jiwon stood in the command center watching the displays. She could see Taehyung's ship descending, see the fleet fighting to protect him. She understood what was about to happen. "Get everyone into the deep shelters," she ordered. "The electromagnetic pulse is going to be massive." Minji was already moving, helping the last few Skywatchers into their reinforced sanctuaries. The Wave Singers were deep underwater, as protected as they could be. Billions of humans huddled in underground facilities, trusting that their defenses would hold. Kyung-soo worked beside Jiwon, monitoring the power readings from Taehyung's ship. "The core is going critical. When it goes, the pulse will cover half the solar system. Will it destroy the command ships?" Jiwon asked. "Unknown. They're more heavily shielded than the harvesters, but it should at least disable them temporarily." Kyung-soo paused. "There's no escape for him. Even if he wanted to evacuate now, there's not enough time." Jiwon knew. They all knew. Taehyung was choosing to die to save Earth. In orbit, the Wanderer's Hope reached its designated position. Taehyung took a moment to look at the planet one more time. This was what his ancestors had left behind. This was what he was giving his life to protect. "To all ships," he said, "this is my last transmission. Tell my family I love them. Tell them Earth was worth it." He didn't wait for responses. His hand moved to the final control. "For humanity," he said quietly. "For home." He pressed the button. The Wanderer's Hope exploded. But it wasn't a normal explosion. The power core's energy converted into an electromagnetic wave that radiated outward in all directions. It was beautiful and terrible. A sphere of disrupted space expanding at the speed of light. Every electronic system in its path shut down. Devourer command ships went dark, their shields failing, their weapons silent. The smaller swarm vessels tumbled helplessly, powerless. Even some of the defending ships were affected, though they had been warned and had shut down non-essential systems. For 30 seconds, the space around Earth was silent and still. Then Admiral Sunwoo's voice cut through the quiet. All ships restart and engage. Hit them while they're blind. The human fleet came back online first, their systems designed to recover quickly from electromagnetic assault. They tore into the disabled Devourer vessels with everything they had. Missiles found unshielded targets. Energy weapons cut through unpowered hulls. The Council ships joined moments later. Felthara's forces targeted the command ships, methodically destroying their control nodes. Zephyrak's vessels formed a barrier, preventing any Devourers from escaping to regroup. Dohyun led his wing directly into the heart of the swarm. Without their coordination, the Devourers were vulnerable, dangerous still but no longer unstoppable. His pilots fought with precision and fury, avenging every loss, every sacrifice. The battle lasted another 6 hours. The Devourers tried to adapt, tried to re-establish command, but it was too late. Cut off from coordination, damaged and scattered, they fell one by one. When the last Devourer vessel was destroyed, the defending fleet hung in orbit, battered and exhausted. They had lost 30% of their ships, thousands of lives sacrificed. But Earth was safe. On the surface, G1 emerged from the command center into sunlight. The electromagnetic pulse had caused auroras, brilliant colors dancing across the sky. She watched them for a moment, thinking about Taehyung, about all those who had died defending this world. "We won," Kyung-soo said beside her. He sounded almost surprised. "We survived," Ji-won corrected. "Now comes the harder part." The harder part was rebuilding. The harder part was learning to live together. 3 sapient species on one world, sharing resources, sharing space, sharing a future. The Council convened one final time on Earth's surface, in a temporary structure built near the ocean. Representatives from all species attended, including new observers from the Wave Singers and Sky Watchers. Arbiter Thexalon addressed the assembly. What happened here was unprecedented. 3 species defended a world together. Multiple galactic civilizations risked their fleets for a planet that was not their own. The Devourers were defeated not by superior technology, but by courage and cooperation. He paused, his ancient eyes scanning the diverse gathering. The Council proposes a new law. No species may be denied their homeworld, regardless of time elapsed or new inhabitants. But more importantly, when one world is threatened, all worlds are threatened. We stand together, or we fall separately. The vote was unanimous. For Earth specifically, a unique solution was implemented. The planet would be co-administered by representatives from all 3 sapient species. Humans would help the Wave Singers and Sky Watchers develop their technology, but slowly, carefully, allowing natural cultural growth. Humans would manage the land and space-related activities. Wave Singers would govern the oceans. Sky Watchers would have protected forest territories. Shared spaces would require cooperation and compromise. It wasn't perfect. There would be conflicts. There would be misunderstandings. But it was a start. Ji-won stood on a beach 6 months after the battle. The reconstruction was progressing well. Orbital platforms were being rebuilt. Cities were expanding. New communication networks allowed the 3 species to coordinate more effectively. A Wave Singer surfaced nearby, one of the younger ones who had learned to use translation technology. "Ji-won of the humans," she called. "The elders wish to show you something." Curious, Ji-won followed as the Wave Singer led her along the coast to a sheltered cove. There, carved into the living coral reef, was an image. It showed a ship rising into the sky with small figures watching from below. The ancient memory of humanity's first departure, preserved in Wave Singer art. "We remembered you," the Wave Singer said. "Even before you returned, we told stories of the sky visitors. Our ancestors saw your ship leave. They taught us to honor those who traveled to the stars." Ji-won felt tears on her face. "Thank you," she whispered. In the forests, the Sky Watchers were adapting to their new reality. They had been given basic communication devices and simple tools. Some groups embraced the technology eagerly, others preferred their traditional ways. Both approaches were respected. Minji worked with a group of young Sky Watchers, teaching them about the galaxy beyond their world. They listened with bright eyes, asking endless questions about the stars they could see at night. "Will we go there someday?" One asked through the translator. "If you want to," Minji said. "But there's no hurry. Build your civilization at your own pace. Learn what you need to learn. When you're ready,